Hey everybody, and welcome to Comic Breakdown. If you are new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the content that we have coming out. And today is Sunday, which means it is our indie comics weekend, where every weekend we cover at least one indie comic. Now, if you guys have any recommendations or you guys are just wanting an indie comic covered on this channel, let me know down in the comments. I'll go check it out. More than likely, we will definitely get around to covering it if we haven't already. And so for today's indie comic, we are getting into one that we've been covering for quite a while now, and that's Kinetic by Y Comics. Now this will be issue number 5. Now this series has been taking us on a journey following a superhero named Kinetic, aka Johnny. Now Johnny's brother was trying to take on a villain that's really been plaguing their city, known as the Gentleman Killer. Now the Gentleman Killer got away, ended up hurting his brother, and so with his superpowers, he decided he was gonna go take on the Gentleman Killer himself. Now throughout the last couple of issues, we've been introduced to a gentleman named Mr. Harrison, aka the Red Reaper, who's really starting to seem like he's going to play a mentor role to Kinetic himself. And last issue, we saw the Red Reaper going against the Ascender. Now, the Ascender is essentially a Iron Man type citizen patrol, vigilante patrol, if you will. But the issue is he's only been patrolling the richer side of town. So assuming that's where he's coming from. While the south side and the more impoverished areas of the city have been left essentially abandoned. And so with the last issue, Ascender and Red Reaper had gotten into a fight. And Red Reaper really got his bell rung. And that's where this issue is going to pick us up. So without further ado, let's dive into this issue. So this one, we're met with a telephone ringing. And it's answered by an individual that we learn is a police detective. And he's arriving at the scene where the Ascender put down the Red Reaper. And it's seeming by all accounts the Red Reaper is being portrayed as the villain in this situation. Though in last issue we could say that did happen, because he saw this girl and automatically assumed that it was his daughter, and they kind of freaked out about the whole situation. The Ascender arrived and it just escalated from there. And Johnny was at the scene with his friend Michelle. Now these two hop on his motorcycle and they take off, and he goes to take her home. And taking her home, he thinks about, how long he's known her and cared about her. We're just seeing, a relationship that wants to blossom here, but Johnny is just too scared to actually go and do anything. And so he imagines, kissing her and saying goodbye and how much he cares about her. But the reality is he just says, I'll see you tomorrow at work. And really we're seeing a superhero that lacks a lot of self-confidence and self-esteem. He's relatively new to the whole superhero scene, to having superpowers, all of this stuff. So he's really starting to get on himself about how he needs to have self-confidence, how he needs to be able to get over his insecurities and just ask this girl that he's known his entire life out on a date. And so this is where we pick up the next day, and they've arrived at work, and Johnny's brother's there, Lauren's there, everybody's here welcoming his brother back to work. And while everybody's sitting here gathered up, this is when Lauren pulls up on her motorcycle. And really what we're getting is, we're learning that Michelle really does like Johnny, and she really just wants him to ask her out, but he's just too insecure and too hesitant. And so Michelle wants them all to go out to coffee later, and then she's gonna bail out so they have an opportunity to be together, alone. Now this is where we pick up at Maple Industries, and we have a bunch of thugs breaking into this warehouse and trying to steal some kind of merchandise that may be valuable to their boss. And as they're stealing all this stuff and get in the car to get out of there, the Ascender arrives. And this is where we cut over to Johnny, really just hanging out, enjoying his day, really excited for, this coffee date, if you will. And this is when he hears on the television that there's an armed robbery taking place at Maple Industries distribution factory, and that all citizens are warned to avoid the area. And him thinking, you know, that's not far from here, I'm gonna go check that out. And so he takes off on his motorcycle in costume, and he sees the Ascender in hot pursuit. Now the Ascender is chasing this guy down. He rips off one of the delivery doors on the back of this truck and just throws it. And it almost hits Kinetic on his motorcycle. And this is when Johnny really starts to realize how reckless the Ascender really is. And one of these bad guys comes out of the vehicle, well, out of the back of the bay of the vehicle, and starts shooting a gun at the Ascender. And the Ascender just really smacks him off the truck, not caring if the guy dies when he falls or not. And this is where Kinetic uses his abilities and creates a cushion for him to fall on. And Kinetic is realizing more and more and more just how reckless this guy really is. That he's going to get somebody hurt. And this is when a little girl runs into the road. And it seems like the truck is going to hit her. And this is when we see both the Ascender and Kinetic try to jump to the rescue of this little girl. But Kinetic is the one to get there first. And he puts up a barrier around her and him, knocking the Ascender and the truck off trajectory. And we see the motorcycle and the Ascender go flying down the road as Kinetic brings the little girl to her father. Now, picking up a little later at the coffee shop, we see Lauren and Michelle sitting down, and she's really disappointed that Johnny ended up bailing, but ends up striking up a conversation with an individual that's here at the coffee shop already. With Johnny arriving late and Michelle talking with this guy, Lauren letting Johnny know pretty much like you missed your chance. And this is just the character development of Johnny himself. You know, he's missing opportunities, relationships. He's making these sacrifices to be a hero. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Personally, you know, like I've said with every one of these issues, the artwork is really freaking awesome. It's really unique. It really does pop. The colors, the shading is all just very vibrant. Now, for the story itself, I really think it's progressed quite a bit from issue number 1. And we're getting a lot more character development of who Johnny is, what kind of person he is, and what kind of hero he's going to be. While also really starting to understand who the Ascender is. Because he's really just seeming like a rich a-hole pretty much, who was able to afford a Iron Man type suit and protect only the ones that matter to him. And there's speculation that he is the CEO of Maple Industries would explain why he was in such hot pursuit of this vehicle and the items that they stole from his factory. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have not yet, please do me a favor, hit that like button if you enjoy the content that we have coming out. Hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, and until the next video.